Welcome to the Beats and Balance podcast, a space for conversations at the intersection of creativity, healing, and community. Each week, we sit down with artists, healers, and everyday people to explore stories of transformation, resilience, and the ways we use creativity to survive and thrive.
All right, welcome, y'all. So on this episode of Beats and Balance podcast, I'm joined by Lyssa Bastet, a queer mother, poet, spiritualist, and community member whose voice carries the weight of lived experience, deep healing, and sacred power. Lyssa uses her journey through homelessness, mental illness, and systematic injustice to hold space for others through spoken word, tarot, ancestral work, and organizing. Her life and art are a testament to vulnerability and strength and survival as sacred practice. In this conversation, we'll talk about her upbringing in Atlantic City, her path to stable housing in Seattle, and what it means to speak out against mistreatment while navigating social service systems. We also explore what it's like to be a parent as a disabled mother and how ancestral veneration and hoodoo root her spiritual and emotional resilience. This episode is a call to remember our ancestors, reclaim our power, and build worlds where our full selves can exist. And that episode is going to focus on survival, spirituality, and self-expression, as well as navigating systems as a disabled mother and a community member, building power through storytelling and spiritual practice. All right, Lyssa, thank you so much for joining us today.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I love all of that.
Well, that was you, so thank you. You're amazing. Thank you for being here. That was your bio. I'm really happy to have you with us. So we'll jump right into it. Tell me what it was like growing up in Atlantic City, and a little bit about what your story is.
So I was born and raised in Atlantic City, and both of my parents were full-time in casinos. My mom was a dealer, and my dad was a pastry chef.
Oh, wow.
And they both casinos do not care about. They don't close unless there's a natural disaster or something like that. And, about 4 of them were ran by our current president. So I didn't really get to see my parents a lot during the day. My mom and dad split up when I was about 7 because of EV. And it was just my mom and me and my middle sister at that time. And yeah, we really didn't see her during the day.
So what did y'all get into? Were you kind of like latchkey kids that would just go home and...
Yeah,
that was my childhood too, so I get that.
And then she also would work nights before. She worked nights before that. So it was we didn't see her during the day because she was asleep. And then at night, I was the built-in babysitter. And I had resentment for that for a little while, but I really enjoyed hanging out with my sister, because living in Atlantic City, there's always a place for you to go to forget that you're going through things. There's the boardwalk and the arcade and the steel pier. You can go pretend that you are a rich kid, or
escaping a fantasy. Yeah, that makes sense. I grew up in Jersey. I've only been in Atlantic City a couple times. I grew up in North Jersey,
okay.
But I went to high school in Pennsylvania, and so we took a trip, me and my friends, to Atlantic City once, and it was kind of surreal. The only thing I really remember is being out and seeing an actual pimp, like a real
you were on Pacific Ave
with a Buick and a fur coat, a real stereotypical with a hat, coming out of a Snoop Dogg movie, and we were just what?
They do it like that here? Yeah, you were on Pacific Avenue.
That image sticks with me to this day of being it was crazy. But Atlantic City is really real for people that don't know. It is a mix of kind of Coney Island and Las Vegas. It feels like an arcade mixed with Sin City,
and just a bunch of pimps and hoes, and
Yeah, so I can imagine growing up there as a child not being like as a high schooler, I was like, oh, this is wild. So I can't
Oh, dude,
imagine being like a
as
little
a
kid and then having parents working in the casino. So being like intimately seeing what that life
yeah.
is like.
Oh, yeah. It was. Oh, and then like my my dad like kind of had his hand in like I saw some shit. Like my
No, that's
family,
real.
they messed with Atlantic City. They lived in Harlem for a little while. Like I
Mm.
hear these stories, I'm like, so where were where were we? Where were we were still?
Where were the kids?
How did y'all pull this off?
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Um, so how did that affect your adulthood? Like what your childhood and your upbringing, fast forward to like you're 18 or about to become an adult, what's going on in your life then?
So I could not really deal with regular like I was like straight A's until like middle school, and then around middle school I was in and out of psych wards,
Mm.
and then I went away for a year and a half. So I was all over Jersey, and by the time I was 18, I felt like I had seen so much.
Yeah.
I am in a group home in Haddon Heights, New Jersey,
Mm.
and I was trying to go to college at Camden County College and
Mm.
get a literature degree, but they couldn't find my dad's taxes.
Mm.
So I didn't get placed in a class until like everything was taken up. And I was given math fundamentals on a Saturday morning. And I was like, fuck this. Fuck this. You know what? I really don't like any of this. And I think I'm just done with all of it. I think I'm just done with all of this. I think I'm just. So I left the group home. I dropped out of college. I moved in with a friend that I met in intensive outpatient
Mm.
and started working at Macy's at Burlington Mall, some mall in Burlington.
Mm.
But my roommates were unhealthy, and I was making reckless choices. But
Were you still looking after your sister at this point, or still talking to your parents, or were you kind of just on your own?
I was kind of on my own. My mom had gone through like a lot of bad things, and she was currently trying to rebuild her life at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was awful. Like my dad was just always awful.
No, that's
uh,
real.
so I was trying to never go back to Atlantic City ever again. And by the end of that, I talked to a counselor that was always there for me. She was like, "You know, you're going to have to fill out a covenant house, right?" And I was like, "I'm going back to a shelter. I'm going back to a shelter in Atlantic City."
Mm.
So I'm back.
And tell folks that don't know what that experience is like being in shelters, being in mental institutions, especially New Jersey being institutionalized is kind of a different,
The
I don't know, like,
This is the
yeah.
only state that I have not been. Well, when I lived in Texas, I didn't get put away anyway. I left. But yeah, the last two states I lived in were the only states that I didn't get put away. And, and psych wards and psychiatric lockup. That's it. Residentials in particular are prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are a and not even like a low security. Like it's a polite imprisoning, and as a teenager, it is. There's something about being put away as a teenager as opposed to an adult, because as an adult, you can fight like to get out. Like there are, I mean, within bounds, but you can talk, you can kind of talk your way out of getting out of places. As a teenager, the most you can talk your way out of is being on most restrictions. So being in psych wards and residentials and group homes as a teenager actually really kind of taught me how to navigate these systems as an adult, how to talk to these people, like what language they use, how to understand the language that they use. Because if you can like talk to someone from social services or a psychologist or whatever, and they explain something to you, and it sounds like what, like what did you? You know what? Fine, I'll just sign it. If it's hard to understand, that is by design. Like
yeah, you have to kind of like tell them what they want to hear, how they want to hear it,
in the exact wording that they want to hear it. There are exact words and phrases and things that they use to almost, at least during my teenage residential time, to try to manipulate you into saying what they want to hear so that they can either keep you longer or send you somewhere where that is more profitable, or try a certain medication on. Because all that stuff is like all those conspiracies, all those they're not conspiracies. Like,
yeah, no, it's real. My mother is a lawyer and she works for the defense office working with patients. It used to be at Greystone in North Jersey. She actually has a lawsuit out against them because of the harm that they were causing the patients, and like there was a whole conspiracy cover up that she and one of her colleagues uncovered. So if you Google my mom, you actually see she's suing the state of New Jersey and Greystone because of this huge. But it was like they were keeping and she was working specifically with sex offenders who had already served their term. And the way it works in New Jersey is that if you commit a sex crime and you serve your jail term, you're automatically committed until they deem that you won't commit again, which is unconstitutional, right? Because you've already served your sentence. And so it's essentially you're put into jail again because, like, as you said,
just keep them in jail then.
Yeah, like the mental institutions basically are jail like, anyway. And so it's like a jail to mental institution pipeline. Yeah. And like she had clients that were elderly, like that is 70, 80 years old, going blind, asking to be let out. And they would just be like, yeah, no. And it's like this person is physically incapable of offending again.
They go on a registry, like they already have to be told. The neighbors already have.
Yeah, it's a complex system too, because a lot of the people that, you know, she worked with were in there since they were kids. They were in there because they were abused. A lot of people that abuse have been abused. So instead of it being a system that is set up to help people, it really is a system that keeps them either locked up in jail or sent to these institutions, which replicate jail. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think rehabilitation center, and they think that you're in like LA rehab.
And not. I was at Carrier Clinic in Belmead, and that shit is posh. Like it has a whole Belmead, New Jersey exists for Carrier Clinic. When the movie A Beautiful Mind,
talking about Girl Interrupted. Which one? Oh, Blue for Mine.
Yeah, the hospital that he was in. That was Carrier Clinic.
Gotcha.
And it's nice. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But it's ran like the old, it's weird. Like they took all the old ways of treating people and just upgraded it with like the right words and technology and things like that. Like, they still practice ECT. Like, they still like do like doors, like places where you had to be shut off by yourself and uh shit. Like, and
Yeah,
it's
so even if the location is nicer in terms of aesthetics, it's still being run the same way, which is kind of barbaric.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's not. I know it's hard because like the American health system in and of itself, like even just a regular hospital, is not necessarily set up for healing, right? And so then
No.
you take it a step further, and then you go into these institutions, and it's like, all right, what are you really accomplishing here? Sedating people all day
Oh
is
God.
not fixing anything,
They had me on
and the conditions people
Orazine
live in
4 times
are
a day.
wild. Yeah, like stuff like that.
And I was like
Um,
15.
Wild. Yeah, I've had friends. I've had friends in Jersey that have been committed. I was almost committed when I first came out. I had a psychiatrist who was West African, and I cut my hair off when I first came out, and she was about to commit me because she was homophobic. And thank God my mother was like, absolutely not. Like my
Because
mom
they
peeped in was like,
have
oh no, but she literally like that.
and with that
Yeah,
oh, that's
because I shaved
scary.
my hair.
That is so
Yeah. So
scary.
it's like you could end up there. And then once you're in there, then it's
And
a
that's
wrap.
it.
You're on that medication.
Yeah,
And then
that's it.
that's it. The medication is at
And they're
that point what's
smarter
making you
and more, and like
not
the
stable.
smarter and more able to communicate with them that you are, that the more that are like, so have they ever tried you on such and such?
Yeah, I think about that because like as a kid, I suffered from I have CPTSD, so a lot of childhood trauma. And as a kid, that wasn't a term that people knew about. So it was like, oh, she has ADD or she has anxiety or she has depression. I don't even think anxiety was a term that people were using back then. So they were putting me on medications
Oh
that were
no.
making things worse. And this doctor was actually one of the people that she was putting me on all these like anti-psych medications that when I went to another doctor after her, they were like, wait, what? Like, why were you on Abilify or why were you on Wellbutrin? Like all of the, and it was literally like she was just handing out pills like they
Oh
were
my
candy and they were
God.
making me actually like, I was in college at the time. I remember one day in class, like I actually like lost my vision off of taking one of, like I was just sitting in class one day and I just couldn't see.
Oh
And
my
that's
God,
when I was
that's
like,
so
oh
scary.
no.
That is
And so
so
I ended up
scary.
going off. Yeah, I ended up going off all that medicine cold turkey, which really messed up my body for like a year, like just detoxing off of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do, and I don't recommend it. Like, definitely
Oh
do
shit,
not do
no.
that. But
I
at that
know.
time,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
yeah, at that time in my life, like I was like facing homelessness. Me and my mom had stopped talking. I was out on my own. I didn't have health
Mm,
insurance. I didn't have access to a doctor. So I had to like kind of deal with things by myself. And
yeah.
luckily I had a partner who was like an
Good.
amazing partner. And we kind of got through things together. But if it wasn't one for my mother advocating for me being like, absolutely not, like my mom had consented to me being institutionalized,
Mm,
my whole life could be on a whole different, for just one person's decision could have sent me down a complete wild
yeah.
path. So this stuff is super serious. And then it's, these institutions, they really can alter the course of your entire life. And people don't realize the
And
effects that it has on folks.
it's frustrating because
Um,
there is usefulness in like mental and like going somewhere where to heal your mind in spirit for a while. There is usefulness in some of these medications, but you're still
100%.
supposed to be using them to go onto a path so that they will be able to function better. But profit,
Yeah.
like every
Yeah,
head that
yeah.
goes into
It's
an
the issue.
institution is paid for. So
It's the issue with like when capitalism enters into medicine, right? It's like at what point is it becoming about profit or is it becoming about like we're trying to have breakthroughs to heal people? And that's like the blurred line that a lot of us, especially our generation, we were the generation that was really like thrown these pills. At least for me, it was
oh
like
God,
the
yeah.
Adderall Ritalin generation. And so it was like we were like being tested on really like little guinea pigs. Like, all right, like you have this issue, we're just
Mm-hmm.
going to throw you these pills and not really realizing the kind of side effects and things. It took me years and years to detox off of them. Like I went through years where I had like agoraphobia,
Mm-hmm.
extreme anxiety, couldn't go into public. I was shaking all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I was just detoxing off these medications that I shouldn't have been on. And it's not to say that there are not people that need them because there are, but when you're put on medications that you don't need, that can be super detrimental to your health too.
Even when you do
Um,
need them, like I'm on several medicines, and I wish I was on less, but I know, like I I know a lot about my body, and I used to study
What
medicine
works for
books
you?
and stuff like that, and I know that I need to be on it. But if I miss doses, or if I'm off of my medicine for a couple days, I get side effects that are terrible. Like I have side effects from medicine that I took as a teenager. Still, like the tick that I
Mm-hmm.
have. Like if I come off a certain medicine for 2 days, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation. Like I wouldn't have the mental energy to form
Mm-hmm.
words. So it's
Yeah,
it's
no, it's
a
real.
it's a dangerous game. It's the way that they form the medicine. It is not to completely heal, which is the
Yeah, this
frustrating
stuff
part.
is super strong.
Quick pause to thank Mantra Matcha and Severista Coffee for supporting Beats and Balance. Mantra Matcha gives you sustained energy, focus, and antioxidants without the crash. Severista is perfect if you love coffee but want less caffeine and fewer jitters. Use code BALANCE for 15% off Mantra Matcha and 25% off Severista Coffee. All right, back to the episode.
I think it's important, like you said, one thing you mentioned is you did the research to figure out what works for you so you know what medications you need to be on. And for me, it was similar. At first, it was just I'm taking whatever they give me. And then as I started to do research for myself, and not just research on the medication, but research into why it is I'm having the feelings I'm having, going deep into the trauma that I had been avoiding my whole life, spending time alone, doing that kind of deep spiritual work of I spent time just years just kind of in silence by myself. One, because I couldn't function because I felt like I was losing my mind. And two, because it was almost the universe was yeah, no, you must stop. Everything in my life kind of came to a crashing halt. But it allowed me to have the silence in myself, to have the clarity to kind of start figuring out what was wrong. It was there were so many things going on inside of me that it was so chaotic, almost if you imagine a hurricane inside of yourself and you don't know, you just know that whatever's going inside of you is making you feel this way or making you react this way, but you don't know what piece or what's happening that's causing it. And so by sitting in that silence and that uncomfort, I was able to kind of one by one be all right, what is this feeling? Where is that coming from? And figuring out where in childhood, because for me, most of the stuff stems from childhood. There's been trauma since childhood, but all of the trauma I'm realizing
It
that I've
always
been in
goes back
since
to
childhood has
childhood.
been related. Yeah, it's I'm repeating,
Yes, it goes in
unconsciously
loops.
repeating things over and over again from childhood.
It goes in loops.
Yeah, 100%. So it's trying to figure out how to hop off that Ferris wheel. You're on this wheel where you keep repeating and repeating the same things until you
That's the
figure out how
one
to get
thing that
off
I
it.
would give psych wards or residentials is that every time that I went away, one, I called for myself, and I I always made the decision to go places when I went away, my mom was like, "Honey, are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And because I knew that I that silence and being able to sit with yourself and go inside of yourself and identify what is making you react to things the way you do. And because I was so, I've always had a special interest in psychiatry and psychology and mental health and counseling. And so when we had therapy and things like that, I was all ears. I was in there. I was locked in. And
Mm-hmm.
the type of therapy we got in Care Clinic was not really truly tailored for teenagers. And I ate that shit up. And I read all the books, and I talked to the doctors for hours because they like talking to me, and I'm talking, and I made friends with the people that were supposed to be trying to pick our brains, and I picked theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And having that, and then being able to sit with everything that I learned for hours, because there was nothing else to do but sit for hours
Mm-hmm.
by yourself. And that taught me, for one, to be able to sit with myself and to be able to face hard feelings. Like whenever I'm feeling something big, like I go through it, which doesn't always look great to other people on the outside. But I promise you, when I get to the other side of the totally unnecessary tantrum, I'm gonna tell you something about me and you and the universe. I gotta be a little extra for a while. Like,
No, it's real. I think a huge part for me too was dealing with shame, right? Shame of how you move through the world, shame of all the big feelings that you have, and then shame of like how you deal with those feelings. And sometimes you have to spiral. And I think there's a lot of shame with people. And I think especially for Black people, people that are born as Black women who are held to the standard of like you should never show any emotion or you always have to be strong for everybody else. And you feel the weight kind of the world on your shoulders as a young kid because that image, whether it's somebody telling you to your face or it's what you're seeing in the media, it's always there of like this strong Black woman that's holding everything together for everybody else. And you're picking that up and you're feeling like as a little kid that you have to hold that role too. And you're seeing your parents, like for me, I would see my mom. My mom had me at 17 years old. My father was extremely physically abusive.
same.
My mother went to college with me, went to law school with me, was graduating cum laude. Right. Like, so on paper, she's like killing it, people, but behind the scenes, you know, she's dealing with raising a child. She's being beaten. We got kicked out of dorms at Howard because my father was selling drugs. Like, so behind the scenes, it was nothing but chaos. And as a little kid, I was just absorbing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And feeling like I had to be the one to hold it together for her at like 2-3 years old. And then by the time I'm 30, I'm like, why can't I function?
Yeah,
like,
right. Look,
why can't I function? Why am I afraid of everything?
Why am I
Why do I
afraid
feel so
of
exhausted?
everything?
Yeah.
Why am I
Like,
so
so it's like you
exhausted?
don't really
Yes.
realize how much you're holding with you until you have that time to kind of sit with yourself and none of this is to put anything on my parents because they are also dealing with their trauma. And that's the thing about like generational trauma that we deal with. I think especially as Black folks, there's so much trauma all around us.
Oh God, yeah.
All kinds of different reasons why, from society to generational through your own parents or grandparents, all the way back to slavery. We're all holding all of this.
Cellularly.
So for me, it's like I don't want to be like pointing blame and be like, oh man, like if I had better parents, I wouldn't. But like my whole family has been dealing with trauma for hundreds of years. Like it's inside of me. And at some point, somebody on my line had to be like, all right, enough. And I think that was me. And I think it was like not easy to do, but I think I'm realizing a lot of like people I'm seeing around my age or people I'm even talking to or coming into contact with intergenerationally. Like it seems like there's a lot of people that are stepping into that role in their family line that are like, yeah, like enough is enough. Like I'm going to deal with this trauma. However that might look like, if it means that you have to like isolate yourself for a month and cry so that you're not harming other people, then that's what like, and that's for me, like, that's what I'll do. You know, like I rather sit and deal with my emotions and ugly cry and isolate myself. Not to say that that's the healthy way to always doing things, but instead of putting it on other people or being in relationships that are toxic or repeating generational trauma. And I think a lot of people are afraid to do that and ashamed to do that. And it's like, sometimes that's like the hard work is just being like, no, like I have issues. I need to sit with my issues.
The cool thing
not distract from the
lately
issues.
has been apathy and like not being able to not have big reactions to things. And like I hear a lot of, I think that is kind of the difference too between being in it's in Seattle as opposed to Jersey, where I hear a lot of it's okay to cry, it's okay to show your feelings, it's good to be emotional, but as soon as I do it, it's not okay. Not okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Luke? She is not fit to raise her child. It's not like I had CPS calling me like 4 times. Because I spiraled during the height of COVID. Like what? Of course but in Jersey, like it was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Look at everybody was out of pocket. So and there was really like no, in neither place was I allowed to be like spiral softly or spiral sensitively. Like I always had to be if you crashed out angrily and fought somebody or caused some problems, and that was more acceptable than falling into a puddle and just crying and being unfunctional for a while. But you have to literally carve that space out for yourself. I feel like as a Black woman, like I literally had to like make.
Do you feel like it's like they want you to fall into being stereotypical, and that's more acceptable than just having like a normal emotional reaction to being overwhelmed?
Yes.
And so if you're not fitting into that stereotype, then even if it's not something that's violent, it's deemed to be more dangerous because it's not their idea of who you should be.
Yeah, and God forbid it be something related to neurodivergence, because my child is on the spectrum, and by raising him, I was like, I really relate to you, like a lot. So I finally was diagnosed with ADHD when I was like 35.
Yeah, that's real.
And now I'm like, the overwhelm and the crash outs and the sensory things and stuff like I feel like I probably was having meltdowns in those times, and that's not allowed either, as I'm learning as a Black woman and as a mother. You're not allowed to crash out. But
yeah, it's difficult. I think it leads to a lot of Black women repressing their feelings, and then you end up getting like diseases and autoimmune issues. I can share with you, like my late wife, for example, she just passed from cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she was a highly successful professor, lit professor. She also used to be an addict in her younger years, a lot of childhood trauma. She was institutionalized and then out of rehab, addicted to heroin and all types of things. And she completely changed her life. She got sober at 25.
That's amazing.
And then got her PhD, dedicated her life. After, being in the psych ward was what did it. The story that she shared with me is like she found herself in the psych ward and she was just like, oh no. Like it was like a wake up call, and it was like cold turkey from then on. Like she stopped doing all the drugs and she was like, no.
That's real.
And if you can Google her, and she became an extremely successful professor. But she also, I think, for a lot of her life, felt like she had to hide all of her struggles and put on this mask of perfection. And so a lot of people like that are hearing this podcast have no idea about that. They'll be learning this for the very first time right now. Like she did not openly talk about it with a lot of people. And when we met, I was like, that's the most powerful part of your story to me. I didn't know who she was in terms of academia when we met, but my uncle had just died from a heroin overdose. And so I shared that with her. Yeah, he had passed like, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks before we met. And so I shared that with her, and that's when she shared with me, like, oh, I used to be addicted to heroin, and don't blame yourself. Like she was explaining to me what it was like to be an addict and like what that experience was like. And I'm looking at this Black woman that's like gone from being an addict to being a professor to traveling the world giving speeches, and I'm just like, damn, like the things that we can do are amazing, but also the things that she held when I really got to know her. And the things that she wasn't able to express, I 100% believe is why she got the cancer. And she expressed that too in the end, was like holding in and having to have this mask on of perfection all the time. It starts to eat away at your body.
It does.
And so this whole project that I'm doing with the Beats and Balance and this podcast and all this stuff really was born out of my wife passing, my uncle passing, seeing all this kind of like death and destruction around me, and realizing that people need an outlet to talk about this stuff.
They do.
And there is no shame in going through these things. And I'm like, I used to tell my wife, man, if people knew, how many little Black girls are in rehab or wherever, if they had a role model like you to look up to, it would be game changing. And she would be like, yeah, like as soon as I get tenure, I'm going to write like the autobiography and let people know. And she never had the opportunity to. So I feel like it's part of my legacy is now making sure that people understand her legacy and realize that like you could really do anything you want if you put your mind to it, no matter what kind of struggles you have, no matter what kind of demons you have, no matter what kind of trauma you have. She had trauma like I have a lot of childhood trauma. She had childhood trauma like I've never seen before, and she overcame so much. But the crucial part is that as much success as you can achieve, you also need to constantly make sure that you're healing yourself and dealing with the trauma, because that's a lifelong kind of battle.
It doesn't go away.
Yeah, so it's like you got to make sure that you're staying on top of that, and that's something I learned through being with her. When we had met, I had gotten to this place where I felt like, oh, I'm healed. Like I did all this work, and I like beat my anxiety and my depression, and I met her, and I'm like, yeah, this is proof.
That's the part where
Like,
you
boom,
know
I
you
healed.
are regressing.
Yeah, and then
That is
and
the
then a
beginning of
month
the
into
end.
dating, she got the cancer diagnosis, and it was like, whoop, what are you gonna do now? Like, how are you, oh, are you gonna use all this stuff that you just learned to fight this and stay on top of your mental? So it was definitely like a reminder of like, this is a non-stop, lifelong journey. But I think it also was a testament to how much people can grow, how much people can change, how many beautiful things you can make happen with your life, no matter what you've been through, and how important it is to heal and take care of yourself, and not let pressures outside of you dictate who you're going to be and how you're going to live your life. So I think that's why when I saw your bio and I saw your story, I was like, okay, this is super powerful, and I thought it was really dope because it reminded me of my wife.
I was going to say that after my like loss before I had my child, I me and my child's father were addicted to heroin for a good 5 months, and even through that, I was trying to find ways to not become like I would be Googling how to use heroin and not die, and things like that. And I didn't think that I was going to be around for much longer. And then there was like a day where I woke up and I was like, but what if? But what if? And I don't know
Yeah, I think that's a lot.
for anyone else, but that has been what keeps me from actually not ending my life. All those times that I tried, and when I was a teenager, like all those times that I actually called the
Yeah.
ambulance on myself, and but like I was thinking like, but what if? And I my child's father didn't feel the same, and I always think of like his story as like a man like fully being swallowed by this system, like because of like the losses, and like nobody ever really asked him like how he felt about losing babies and being homeless and all this. And when I left him, because I found out that I was pregnant, and I was like, I have to stop, like I have to stop. Uh, I think he just kind of gave up, and I think it's why I'm so vocal whenever I'm struggling, or because I got like, I guess, noticed online because of like how open I am. Like, just I achieve things, but I don't hide the messy parts, because doing that harms people. Pretending that we're invincible has harmed us terribly. And I see that in my mother, because we magically live together again. I see spirit working through that. And I watch her raise my now teenage daughter, a teenage sister. And she has evolved, but there are some parts that she needs to see me do to know that it's okay for her to do too. And it's okay to be soft in front of, especially in front of your children. Please be soft in front of your children. Please break down in front of your children. Please tell your kids, I don't feel okay today. Like, or this didn't work out for me and I'm really, really mad about it. Like, please be emotionally honest to your kids, please. Because
Yeah, I feel that.
thinking that we are invincible is killing us. And it's making I feel like that's also part of like why like a lot of Black men like grew up thinking that we can do everything because their mama did too. And I was like, well, your mama wasn't happy while she was doing it. She was just doing
Yeah.
that shit with a smile. Like,
Yeah.
so
No, it's real. The things that are normalized that should not be.
yeah, yeah, I had to say that.
Yeah, no, I think it's all super important. It is real. I think one of the main things that I'm big about is showing vulnerability because exactly what you said is like if we're all just pretending that we're fine, then nobody is learning how to cope. And we're also just all lying to ourselves. I think we all have a much happier and easier existence if we were able to just see that like there's so many people that are going through the same thing. And we're all not that much different than we think that we are, but we kind of build these walls of protection that end up isolating us more than protecting us. So I'm happy that we had to have this conversation today. I think this is a step in the right direction for folks to just, have these kind of open conversations, talk about how they're coping, what they've been through. And, I think it was really positive. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having
Is there
me.
anything that you have coming up? Yeah, of course.
Do I have anything?
Or tell the people, I know you do tarot and things like that, where they can book you.
Yes. I have a link tree. You can go to Lyssa Bastet on all platforms. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. And when you see me, just DM me and you will see all of my work and everything. And I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/Lyssa Bastet. Yeah.
Very dope. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being vulnerable and open and honest with us today. And hopefully we'll have another chat again in the future and dive more
I'd love
into like
to.
the hoodoo and the tarot and the spiritual stuff because we got cut off with time. But there's a lot of stuff we could talk about.
They got to
So thank you so much.
They got to be seen.
Yeah. We got the background out of the way. So then the next time we can talk about the future.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having
much. And thank
me.
you everybody for listening.